So Michael Venom Page versus Sam Patterson went down last Saturday, UFC London, and it was such a boring fight. I have to talk on this. I just had to touch on this subject because, boy, that was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. It's up there with Izzy Romero. It's up there with Hamzat versus DDP. In fact, I feel like Hamzat versus DDP was more entertaining. Like, I was more on the edge of my seat. I say that very loosely. Than this fight. This fight, you just knew nothing was going to happen. Michael Venom Page came out and said, oh, well, if someone's not willing to engage with me, then what can I do? Bro, you weren't willing to engage. You are the problem. Like, I get that you're a counter striker, but striker. I get that MVP is a counter striker, but you can't say that. That's like saying, oh, I only throw a submission if a person puts his head in my arm and then I can like choke him out. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would they go, oh, I'm fighting a counter striker, I'm going to hit him? Because then you're literally open to be outstruck, like to be countered, sorry. So it makes no sense. I get they're friends as well, but if you sign that contract to fight each other, then you should fight each other. I don't feel like this is on Sam Patterson's side. Like, it's all an MVP. MVP's had like 4 or 5 fights in the UFC, and they've all been very lackluster. I get his style is, you know, this karate point style kind of fighting, but at the end of the day, mate, that was awful. He literally just jumped up and down. I think he had like a total of 33 strikes landed in the whole fight, and Sam Patterson had even less than that. But at the end of the day, he knows he's a counter striker and he's not going to get into the danger to be countered. Like, that's just so embarrassing in my understanding. What? No, that's just stupid in my opinion. Like, why would you throw 1-2s against someone who's looking to counter you? I know everyone's technically looking to counter, but MVP, that's his thing. So you're basically saying that, oh, Sam should have put his chin in the air so I could have hit it. It just doesn't make any sense, and it's so bad. Like, MVP should be cut, to be honest. I like MVP. I like watching his interviews. He seems like a really nice guy. All of that stuff. Like, it's no MVP hate. It's just, it was so boring. And to say, oh, what can I do if my opponents don't engage with me, is like saying, oh, I'm not going to shoot any takedowns if you don't like blatantly let me take you down. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid. It was such a boring fight. MVP is just, he's happy to win the rounds by 1 strike, by 2 strike, and just jump up and down. And it's frustrating because they can't really, like, you know, sit, like, if it's on the ground and someone's just slaying on someone, they can stand it up. But what do they really do? Like, you must engage. If they don't want to engage, they don't want to engage at the end of the day. And, you know, Sam Patterson's been getting a bit of hate for basically not trying to make it an entertaining fight. But what can he do? You're not going to jump into the fire. That's just stupid. You know, it's so frustrating because MVP has the potential to be a massive star. But if I'm honest, when you look at all his highlights, they are just silly emotes. He's just doing like emotes, as the kids say these days, in the octagon. Like, I want to see a fist fight, mate. I want to see a fight, not even a fist fight. Like I said, like, this made Max versus Charles Oliveira look like a fantastic fight. To be fair, I actually think that was a good fight anyway. You know, it wasn't Hamzat Chimaev versus DDP. There were threat of submissions. It was masterful performance. I mean, you are a bad mother effer if you take down a guy who's a solid competitor, like one of the greats, and you hold him down and make him look awful for 5 rounds. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it wasn't a BMF fight, but imagine if Michael Venom Page did that in a main event. No, what he's saying, that he's struggling to get opponents, and I get why. Because why would you want to fight a guy who's basically, his style is, oh, I'm not gonna throw until I literally get someone's chin on a platter. Like, I wouldn't want to fight MVP. Obviously, but if I was a fighter, I wouldn't want to fight MVP because he basically just waits until you're in the void, as Mighty Mouse would say, to crack you. But, you know, he should have been going for low kicks, trying to set, and at the end of the day, yeah, if you're just jumping up and down, then you've got to start engaging too. I really feel like it was all on MVP's behalf, and he made that a boring fight. I think the UFC are a bit annoyed with him. I think that's why he got an unranked friend at welterweight, because you don't want MVP to take out your stars, decision your stars just by one leg kick or one straight right, or maybe a little jab or an oblique kick. MMA Guru says it the best, okay? He says, don't blink, you'll miss nothing. And that's like the perfect way to describe an MVP fight. Like, the whole time you're waiting for something crazy to happen and it just doesn't. You know, it really doesn't. As well, he's talking about going for a belt. Him versus Islam at welterweight, or him versus Hamza. I think that's I think that's a really easy matchup for both of them, if I'm honest, because I know these guys will be able to take him down, and when they do, he's not getting up. He got held down by Ian Gary, for fuck's sake. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, he has no chance for a title, and he also says, I just want, like, you know, I'm 38, I just want really entertaining fights. But you're one of the most least entertaining fighters ever. You know, he looked really good when he was at Bellator and other promotions. He looked really good because these other fighters have low IQ. So, well, I don't mean that, but I mean that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the same as the UFC, is what I'm saying. They don't have low IQ, but like, it's not the same as the UFC. These guys are not gonna 1-2 a guy who's literally looking to go over their guard, over their shots, and counter him and hit him and knock him out, or, you know, win the fight. It was just abysmal. And like, I see grapplers, obviously they get a lot of hate these days if they just control someone on the ground, but he did like he's the lay and pray of striking. He really is. So I understand why he's not getting matchups. I understand why the UFC are not don't want to put him against any big names, because, you know, what if he beats a Sean Brady or, you know, a Shavkat or something? Not that I think he would, but imagine he did, and he just beats him over 2 oblique kicks and maybe a little right hand, like, and that's it. Like, I mean, he just outpoints him. I get that he's not breaking any rules, but at the end of the day, yeah, it is an entertainment product, and MVP is not entertaining. Like I said, he looked good in the B leagues, but now he's in the A leagues. These guys are not willing just to trade and think, oh, I'll get him, and then get smoked. You know what I'm saying? So I just felt I had to make the video because I wanted to know other people's opinions on this. I wanted to know if you thought it was a boring fight. I mean, you can't think it's not a boring fight. It was awful, in my opinion. It was one of the worst fights ever. You know, there was nothing happening. He was just in front of Sam Patterson the whole time. It's just crazy. I just can't believe that you can get away with that stuff. And it really doesn't look good for MVP. I mean, he's had 4 or 5 fights. I think he's had 4 fights in the UFC now. And they've all been boring, except from a couple of motes that he did on Kevin Holland or whatever. Like, oh, crazy. Do you know what I mean? But like, other than that, I always get excited for an MVP fight, and I don't know why I do. I always think, oh, this could be really good. But it never is. It's always just him bopping in front of his opponents. His opponent's trying to land something or trying to force a fight, and it isn't. And at the end of the day as well, I see a lot of people saying, oh, well, they're friends, so, you know, maybe it was a mutual agreement. I think that's terrible, because at the end of the day, if you're both willing to fight each other, I'm against teammates fighting each other. I don't think you should do it. But if you're going to do it, you got to make it scrappy. You got to make it a fight. Sam obviously knew that it's dangerous to get into the void or into any zones where he could counter. So Sam was reluctant. So, and then MVP was just happy to win on a couple of oblique kicks. I don't know, man. I thought it was a complete waste of time. Who do they match MVP up against next? I have no idea, because he wants to stay at welterweight. That's what he said on the Mighty Cast. He said he wants to stay at welterweight. But if I'm honest, like, who's he going to fight now? Like, especially after 4 boring decisions. It's just not good. I just thought I had to make this video because it's frustrating, man. He could be a really good fighter, but I feel like he needs to realise that he is in a fight. And if jumping up and down in front of someone's not fighting, then, or it's not happening, then you need to start forcing stuff a little bit. Obviously, I get that kind of leaves him to be counted, but you're a fighter at the end of the day. You're not just a counter fighter. You should have it all. You're an MMA trained fighter. So that's all I have to say in this video. Probably a proper short one. I'm feeling ill, but I just had to get it out there. Like, how can people say, even MVP himself, well, if Sam doesn't want to engage, what can I do? You need to engage as well. It's not just your opponents that aren't engaging. You're not engaging. You can't wait for their chin on a platter. You cannot wait for that. You have to start forcing a fight. In my opinion, it should be like time wasting. You should get like a point deduction or something like that, because he just wasn't forcing it. And you haven't got to force it so where you're in a brawl like Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, last 10 seconds. You haven't got to force it like that, you know, or point down at the centre and swing. But at the end of the day, like, you are in a fight. So if an opponent isn't engaging, someone needs to start throwing a jab out, start getting some reads, start throwing some actual kicks that look like they're going to do some actual damage to someone. That's what I think anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you in the next one.